Most people ask that questions. Like, did you know English before you came over here? Sometimes I look at them and like,
nah, you're mad.
You expect they expect us to be speaking that language of hey man.
I'm like some Bushman or something.
Yeah, I mean there's tribes in Africa that speak like that, but it's not the whole of Africa that speaks like that.
And even that, those are, I mean, that every culture has its own,
specs. Even people back home still think the same thing. They think the United States is much better than back home. No, back home is much better than where we are.
100%.
Yeah,
but you see, that's the thing. I wouldn't agree with you before I came here.
Before you came, you would disagree with me because you're like, I'm like, bro, you're just selling us a lie. Just because you don't want us to
come
see
there.
What it
I
is.
don't want you to. It's like a competition, which is my country people. We really need to change some things, because then I won't judge, but even I as an individual at some point, not right now, but obviously growing up, there's some statements people who've gone abroad overseas will come and say to you, and you're thinking, this guy probably doesn't want me to be on the same level as him. I don't like using this word, but I'll say I was low-key homeless. So I got here, it's cold, stuck myself up in a motel. That was an experience that I've never forgot. You see those motels you see in movies? That was a bit, that was a bit crazy.
How was the motel? Tell it.
Man.
Describe it.
So, it was a tiny room. For people back home, maybe to make them understand better, it's like a single room, like a typical single room.
Is it a bed sitter?
I call it a single room for them to understand size-wise. Yeah, but it's more of a bed sitter. Okay. So you're having your restroom, your shower over there, a big, huge ass bed. I won't lie, that was a good bed. Then there's a TV that's tuned in on the local news channels here. Then you have your fridge over there and a microwave.
But there's no kitchen or stove.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Just a fridge, just the microwave there, and next to me there's a side bed table with a Bible.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Hi everybody, we're back again on another episode, and today I have a different guest over here. He's actually my friend from back in high school, and I'm so happy, man, we got to link up again. Having somebody come to the United States, I would love to have your point of view on how you see things over here.
Yeah.
And are they the same as what we thought we was back home?
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, without much ado, let's jump into it. I'm your host, Bryke, and
I go by the name of Tony. And yeah, thanks for having me. Just to recap, it's been 10 years, since we last saw each other. So it's crazy. It's crazy how the world works. But I mean, here we are. It's nice seeing you, man. So let's get into it. Get into
Pleasure's all mine, man. It was a long distance coming down here, though.
Yep. Yeah,
the drive is crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I hope I get home back safe.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
But it's good. Right. It's good. I mean, I got a question. What inspired you or motivated you to move to the United States?
Let me see. So there are a couple of things. Yeah. And I'll tie it to family mostly. That was the biggest factor for me. But apart from that, obviously, growing up, it's funny, yeah? Because growing up, I never thought I'll ever get to a point of leaving the country.
You never thought you'd leave the country?
To be honest, really. I really never got excited by the idea of leaving the country and going outside. I don't know why, to be honest, but I first left the country before coming here. Obviously, went somewhere else for uni, and life happened. Then came here. But anyway, my biggest factor to answer your question was family, and I felt that now since my family is here, that was the only reasonable thing for me to do at the time.
Okay.
So let's just leave it at family, because the rest, obviously there are other factors I had to think about. I had to think about my employer at the time. I had to look into my contracts. I had to look into my family as well back home. But yeah, family was the biggest factor on moving to this side. Yeah.
You mentioned about your employer. What job did you do before you came to the United States?
I should lie. All right.
Just say it ain't gonna
so I've done a couple of things before coming here. Yeah. And I'll just narrow it down to post graduation in uni for my undergrad. Yeah. So I have a background in international business and trade. And that has seen me working in both the corporate and the NGO side.
Yeah.
This is post-graduation, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I worked with cooperative bank back home. I worked in the corporate side of it. So I did more of institutional banking, corporate banking. And apart from that, I also did trade finance because it was way in line with what I went to school. Then immediately after that was more of an internship. So my first job that I landed was with Ashoka, which is more of an NGO that supports social entrepreneurs, but the ideas from like an ideation point to actually a fruition or a tangible solution, right? Project or whatever. So I worked with Ashoka as a program manager and a project manager. Yeah. So yes, I was leading some programs, and in leading those programs, I'm also leading some projects. So that's what I'm saying, program and project management. So that's what I did before coming here for about close to 3 years. Then I decided, it's time to pack up.
Man, that's crazy. What was your journey like to the United States, emotionally, physically, and mentally?
Draining.
How was it draining to you?
Everything about it, I think, is draining. And I think I say that one, again, I'll tie it to family, right? When you're having your family go ahead of you or people get there before you do, there's lots of lingering questions. What if I don't make to get to the other side of it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now the thing about it is you're stressing about things that are way beyond you. It's like you stressing about tomorrow and there's nothing much you can do. You see, tomorrow already remains unknown to us.
I mean, tomorrow, Do you
know what I mean?
I was going to use a phrase, but no.
So we don't know about tomorrow, and you know what? So I feel that uncertainty, it was really draining, not only emotionally, and physically, because physically you're definitely making runs to the embassy here and there.
Definitely.
You're definitely prepping here and there, either from people who've been there before, people who've gone through the same system, YouTube and all that. So I found it being draining, but I'll want to tie it down to, I feel, the emotional bit of it. And that was a build up, obviously, apart from you trying to get your things together, resources, as I told you, I had an employer. It was relatively new. It was just 3 years in it. So the thought of bidding goodbye and you're already at a point where you're already starting or gearing up your career, that was a bit of a task,
So how was it like dropping your job and then picking on just booking a
flight
and leaving it all behind you and coming to the United States?
I won't advise for this, but I'll give you a funny story. I actually quit my job after I got here.
Oh, you were still doing remotely?
Yep. I worked for about 4 or 5 months after getting here.
What made you quit though?
I didn't quit. If I'm being honest, I didn't quit. It happened that it was coincidental that when the 5 months were ending after me getting here, that was also the same time my contract was running out. But you see what I did, so I mentioned I worked with Ashoka, and I also did some consulting on the side. So I worked with an organization also, some South American organization in Argentina. So as much as I was working with them, I had the leverage because they were not my employers. I was just a consultant with them. So I had some power to me, like I could have some some say to it, you know.
Sure.
So what happened when I realized things were aligning? I could not quit my job initially because you don't know, as I say, the fear
You
of the
never know
unknown.
what tomorrow is.
Yeah, the
always,
fear of the unknown. You might quit your job, then what? You don't get a visa.
Yeah.
Then you're miserable. So the moment I learned that there might be a chance of this coming to fruition, I talked to my manager and mentioned that I might be transitioning. And I think he didn't take it seriously. You know?
Yeah. I'd get that from a corporate.
He really didn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
So I got my visa interview and all that, got everything organized and set. And I just took off. But remember, I was not working with my former employer. I was fully working remotely. So at no given point did I have to worry, regardless of me traveling or not, of being in office. Right? Because my home is my office. My room is my office.
Man,
do you know what I mean?
And there's good sides to that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So things just happened. I packed my bags up, left, and when I got here, it was a challenge. I mean, my body was not really set to the whole, time difference, change of environment and all that. So my body was still geared. And so it was easy because then we had check-in meetings every Tuesday. And it happened that we at the time I came, it was around winter, so about 9 hours, we were being 9 hours ahead. So in the middle of the night, that's when I'm waking up to try catch up with the meetings. And since it's a remote, it's just a normal check-in.
Yeah, actually it's a dream too.
Yeah. So no one really did care for the first couple of months because the routine was you have your own, you have your own deadlines, you have what's expected of you. So given that you're meeting that, that's all that matters. But then later on it became a problem with some of the team members, just like any other organization. There's politics in there, but then it came to my understanding that most of the people in my organization didn't appreciate that, and so given that my contract was coming to an end, there was no need to have conversations around an extension or a renewal of a contract. And at the time, that didn't bother me because at the back of my head, I knew regardless, I can't keep up with this for long. As much as this is my passion, this is what I love doing each and every day, I can't really keep up with these, because now you're in a new place, you're in a new environment.
You have to adjust to the new environment too,
Yep. As much as, yes, back home, maybe you're getting decent money, there's a reality in also where you're now are at, and so you definitely have to rethink, if I'm here right now and I need to get bread and butter, then I need to figure out something that's more, practical. As opposed to me waking up in the middle of the night to take up meetings and all that. And don't get me wrong, another reason was I told you I was a project manager. So I facilitated some sort of incubator program with these participant fellows. And so the thing was, I had to be constantly there to support them. And it started getting a toll of me. Because then the support you're talking about is not a 10-20 minutes call. You have to walk them through the process. They'll be calling you random times. Remember, I've not communicated also to them that I've moved out of my country.
Oh, so the entire time they didn't know?
No.
Wow.
My business, I kept it personal. Because again, as much as I want to share, I'm having lots of things going on in the background. So the biggest concern I have, if it's to communicate work-wise, it's to my managers, to the people that I'm facilitating. That was a wrong approach, obviously, but I took it that way because I knew, regardless of me moving or not, till the end of my contract, I'll still be committed to doing what I do. So I didn't feel there's a need of them at the time when I was still working it out to know. That came after now. I'm here, I've settled, and I just give them, like in the middle of a call, like a quick life update. So guys, I'm sorry I'm not around.
I can't keep up with this.
Yeah. So that happened.
Wow.
And it was a challenging. I won't lie, it was a bit challenging because I mentioned when I came here, there was it was fall heading to winter, so it was really cold. Coming from an equatorial country where you have the equator, this is crazy. You know what I mean? The coldest it gets probably.
If you cannot adjust fast
We're
enough.
talking about 55, 60. That's the coldest you can say it's getting back home.
What's the hottest it's been ever since you've been down here?
So I don't know, for our viewers, Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Fahrenheit.
The coldest?
No,
hottest?
Hottest?
How
hot?
I'll say 95.
95.
That was last summer.
That's not bad. I think there's a time where I come from. The temperature hit like 110 to 115.
That's crazy. Where are you from? Arizona or what?
Don't worry about it. Do your assignment.
Okay. No, but I mean, still, for someone who's coming from an environment where you're not used to such, regardless, it was not.
Yeah.
It wasn't really good for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Man. So how was it? Like, how was America? Was it what you expected it to be, or was you surprised about the things that you found over here?
I mean, growing up, obviously, there's this American idea that they sell to us on movies.
Yeah.
Right? I won't lie. Some bit of it met my expectations because the roads you see in movies.
Man, the roads, that's the perfect thing for the most part.
They're good. And obviously, when I'm getting here, I'm not landing in a desert. I'm definitely landing at an airport and you're seeing the different infrastructures and you're thinking to yourself, what are we doing back home?
Hey, but we're doing better now, though.
Yeah,
we're doing better now, though.
I mean, it's
much better than most African countries.
That's true. But the thought of the things you see on movies, right? You're thinking it's painted as this fairy tale where,
it's a perfect lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a perfect lifestyle. You just get there. People who are abroad have don't get me wrong, not only America, it's a narrative that we have back home.
Yeah, it's pretty much overseas, anywhere.
The moment you leave
the UK,
country,
the Canada,
going abroad, then you become, it's like you've made it in life.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. And I realized, I mean, I can't say I had the same mentality, but to some extent on some things,
expectations of what you're supposed to do.
There's some expectations that are there, like I'm thinking, if you're going overseas or you're going abroad, you're going for a better life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And back home, if you've not gotten that exposure opportunity to be out there, you'll think that by virtue of you stepping out of your country, everything automatically clicks and works for you.
It works in your favor.
You're going out there, you get a job, you get a good house, you're driving these cars that you see. Man, let me tell you something.
Talk about it.
So, I wasn't really keen before coming here on this whole American dream and all that, because it's usually sold to us on movies.
Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's actually not a thing. I think it's actually a thing.
It is a thing.
I still believe it's a thing.
It is a thing, for sure.
There's some people who have some reservations about that, you know. However, how the mainstream media paints it is really not the reality in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had to get here to understand that. They say there's some things you have to experience to understand.
I think there's a quote, not even a quote, sentence that, do you know Obina? The sentence he uses every time and I like it. There's things you don't know, you don't know.
Yep.
There's things you don't know, you don't know.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the thing. I, like any other person, you're looking to moving from a hard life. And that doesn't mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't suffering per se.
Talk about it.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like
I got
you're
you.
moving out there because you're hoping that life will be better.
It's gonna be much better than what it is.
Than what you currently.
Yeah.
I won't lie, it probably is, but takes lots of patience, lots of discipline, and lots of, what should I even call this? Prayer, actually. Let me say that.
Okay.
For people who don't pray, you'll cling on whatever you do. You hope. Let's call it hope.
Yeah.
Hoping that it gets better.
It gets better.
Do you know what I mean?
Hope without there's a first hope without what? I forgot it. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I feel there was quite some shock. And it wasn't obviously the obvious shocks like accents and all that. Come on, we're well learned. We've been out there.
Most people ask that questions. Like, did you know English before you came over here? Sometimes I look at them and I'm like,
nah, you're mad.
You expect they expect us to be speaking that language of hey man.
I'm like some Bushman or something.
Yeah, I mean there's tribes in Africa that speak like that, but it's not the whole of Africa that speaks like that.
And even that, those are, I mean, that every culture has its own,
specs.
But so my biggest cultures were not the normal day-to-day, the normal day-to-day, culture shocks. It was more different. Like for example, weather. You're seeing the weather. You hear people talking about the weather.
Yeah, I think there's a difference when you see the weather on the TV and you see the people dressing.
Yeah,
you might think they dress light because back home we used to put on sweaters too and jackets. But it's not the kind of warmth you're looking for.
I think so. So those are some of the things that really stood out to me. Because I said I came here when it wasn't the best of the best of weathers, if that's even grammatically correct.
How many inches of snow was it?
When I first got here, we had 4 inches of snow. And according to the locals, that was the warmest winter they ever received in over 50 or 60 years, as much as they can remember. So I'm thinking to myself, this is 4 inches of snow. You're telling me this is the warmest. So I'm thinking, is this what I've signed up for?
Yeah.
And as you talk to them, they will tell you, actually, you're lucky. If you came here last year, it was bad. It was like getting about 7, 8.
I think there's records of 12 that happened down here.
Yeah, they've been saying that. Some gentleman, I remember, I was just chatting and he's telling me, you'll open your garage or something and it's literally your level.
Piled up almost quarter-inch half.
And I'm thinking, whoa. So the good life that I've left, because I mean, apart from the daily hardships, can't lie, life back home is okay. It's better.
It is, and that's what I say most times, because I mean, we used to think, even people back home still think the same thing. They think the United States is much better than back home. No, back home is much better than where we are.
100%.
Yeah,
but you see, that's the thing. I wouldn't agree with you before I came here.
Before you came, you would disagree with me because you're
like,
I'm like, bro, you're just selling us a lie. Just because you don't want us to
come
see
there.
What it is.
I don't want you to. It's like a competition, which is my country people. We really need to change some things, because then I won't judge, but even as an individual at some point, not right now, but obviously growing up, there's some statements people who've gone abroad overseas will come and say to you, and you're thinking, this guy probably doesn't want me to be on the same level as him. Maybe you're taking some information out. You don't want to give me the whole, because you think maybe
you're filtering everything that you're telling me.
Exactly. But you see, that's not the thing. And right now I can get to say what you're saying, because then we're having two sides of the coin. You get to experience where you've been brought up and raised. If you're lucky, traveling outside the country before, you have, like for me, as I told you, where I was born and raised, I did my education till some certain level, then went again out of the country, did my undergraduate somewhere else, got back to the country, worked for a couple of years before deciding, it's time for me to pack up. And you see, that's the thing. Now that I came here, I'm having 3 different perspectives. The current place where I'm at, my original home, and any other place that I've been. Exactly. And then it gives you a clear perception. As you said, you get to appreciate where you're coming from more. The first, you'll obviously get excited. You're going abroad. Who doesn't want to go abroad?
Everybody wants to.
Exactly. But then when you experience it, you realize It's really not it. It's some excitement. Let me call it an excitement.
Still, even us talking about it, I think they might think we are selling them a notion that is not so true. The thing is, home is much better than it is over here.
Yeah.
But the only difference that it is, if you go back home, you got all the freedom you want.
Yeah.
Being over here, you don't have all the freedom you want. So you have to sell your time for money.
Yep.
Back home, if you go, like, let's say roughly, how many jobs do overnight at home?
Never. Is that a thing back home? That's a
I
more
think
of a healthcare
like I'd
thing.
say like a watchman does overnight.
Yeah, security.
But you might
healthcare.
find whoever needs security at night, they don't need it during the day.
That's true. That's true.
But over here, you got a lot of jobs that go night and day consistently. It's 24/7.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the only advantage that's
Yeah.
over here. So we pretty much, I'd hate to use the word slaving, but we slave ourselves for that penny.
Without knowing.
Yeah, without knowing.
It happens without you knowing. And you get to realize it when your body starts, I think, wearing out and telling you, listen, I'm done. You know, then you realize you're actually not running on gas or anything. You're actually running on blood.
Yeah.
You know, and you're not a machinery. You're a human being.
Yeah.
And those are things. If at times I talk to my folks back home, I talk to people that I worked with here and then, they're like, you know, that's a good problem. I don't know at times how I feel about that statement, but I agree also. It's a good problem to have when I put it in context of where they're coming from. But again, they also don't put it in context of this other side.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll say the biggest culture shocks were many, but my biggest culture shock at the time was how crazy weather can get. You know,
it changes. It changes.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. What were the first few days or weeks like after you landed?
I'll say,
give it as it is. Do not sugarcoat. There's nothing better. There's nothing perfect. Say it.
All right. To be honest, there's lots of. It's like a mixture of. It's like a cocktail of emotions. Let me say that. You know, you're excited. You know, I mean, and the excitement is not really because I'm out here or I'm abroad. Nah, the excitement for me was I'm with my family.
Yeah,
you know, at the same time, there's some sort of, it's like a bittersweet moment.
Yeah.
You know, there's some sadness to it because then the friendships, relationships, and all that you've built, at least for the number of years that I've lived, have been back home. And now I'm literally leaving everything behind.
So you have to start afresh.
And starting afresh.
Yeah.
And again, I'll bring it back. The fear of the unknown. You don't know what to expect. You've come here, a free mind. You don't know what's happening next.
Yeah.
It can work out. It may not.
True.
So it was a mixture of excitement. It was a mixture of worry about the what next. And that's just human nature. That's something I had to come to terms with over the years, you know.
Yeah.
It's more of human nature. Apart from that, there's some level of determination because now you're thinking, I've made the decisions. I'm miles and miles and miles away. So it has to work or has to work. There's nothing else.
It's one way in, one way out.
Yep. Yeah. So it was a lot. But anyway, to answer your question, the first couple of weeks were not easy. At the time, I was not at the same place as where my family usually was. So when I came here, I don't like using this word, but I'll say I was low-key homeless. You know? So I got here, it's cold, stuck myself up in a motel. That was an experience that I've never forgot. You see those motels you see in movies? That was a bit, that was a bit crazy.
How was the motel? Tell it.
Man.
Describe it.
So it was a tiny room. For people back home, maybe to make them understand better, it's like a single room, like a typical single room.
Is it a bed sitter?
I call it a single room for them to understand size-wise. Yeah, but it's more of a bed sitter. Okay. So you're having your restroom, your shower over there, a big, huge ass bed. I won't lie, that was a good bed. Then there's a TV that's tuned in on the local news channels here. Then you have your fridge over there and a microwave.
But there's no kitchen or stove.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Just a fridge, just the microwave there, and next to me there's a side by table with a Bible.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So how did you used to eat? You bought out every time, or did the place have breakfast?
Yeah, that was great. So
Man,
you've taken me aback. So I lived on chips, potato crisps. What back home we call crisps.
Yeah.
Crisps. So I lived on chips here and avocados and water.
For how long?
And pop, actually. For the 13 days that I was homeless.
What?
Yeah.
So that was breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, but I'm sorry.
Or maybe if it gets better, pizza.
Shit.
So, in short, from when I left my home country to when I settled here, it took me about let's say 3 weeks before I actually ate food. Man. Like food, not snacks.
So in those moments, did you feel like going back home, or?
I mean, I was enjoying obviously the snacks. You know, don't get me wrong, enjoying because obviously, you're not eating avocados on a daily and some potato chips and some some Haribos and some Skittles, whatever. You're not taking that every day back home. Not because you can't afford it. We just condition that way. Like you just get them once in a while and you eat them.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So for the people here, don't get me wrong, man. That doesn't mean we don't eat snacks back home. I realize that's where most of these misconceptions come.
Yeah, that's how
someone might hear me
come.
speaking and thinking, these guys don't have no chips back home.
But it's just the fact of you don't get to eat it on a daily basis.
Yeah,
it's just by the way.
Yeah. And when you're thinking about your priorities, obviously,
they do not align with
that's the list in of your priorities.
Yeah.
So it was quite. That was actually, I'll say that was the first time in my life where I've not had anything going on. Like as a mature person, I've not had anything going on. I'm just by myself, locked up in a room, and now you have lots and lots of time to think. You can't move. Because where am I going? Remember I told you I got here and it's about 4 inches of snow.
Yeah.
I can't say I came here prepared because that was, even me coming here was more of a last minute thing when I got the response from the embassy and all.
Yeah.
So I can't say there was some sort of preparations in terms of shopping, clothing and all that.
So it was just
and even if I did, the little shopping that I did at the time wasn't really substantial here. Like I thought when I'm coming from back home, I thought I'm geared up for this cold. Then you get here and you realize that's nothing.
Surprise.
You realize there's a difference between a normal cardigan and actually a winter cardigan. There's a difference between your boots and winter boots.
Yeah.
And those are things that I didn't know, obviously, because as much as I had traveled, I had never been to somewhere where there was some extreme weathers here. So it was quite a lot. And even during COVID, as much as we were locked down and everything, at least there you had family. At least you're locked down with your family. But this was different. I'm locked up by myself. I can't move. I can't do nothing.
So what helped you get through those times? Was it phone calls back home, having comfort calls and all?
It was phone calls. I did that a lot. I really did that a lot.
Okay.
That was one tormenting time. So I'll call my folks back home, and whenever I'm not, I'll try call friends, catch up, talk, At the time, my fiance was around here as well, so she's also the person who'll keep me busy. But again, she's also busy with work.
Yeah.
So whenever she's getting off work, obviously that's when I'm catching up. But apart from that, family are the people who kept me going at the time. Yeah. I won't lie to you. I tried watching movies, didn't work.
It don't work. It
Tried
gets boring at some
podcast, you get depressed. Because again, being locked up in this room, there are windows, yes, but again, the weather is harsh. So you're not drawing your blinds or anything.
Yeah.
It's dark, and yeah, it was quite a dark place. I will lie though. I thought that was, I think, the longest I've been by myself and had time to think. I get to appreciate that time because it gave me clarity. Had to think, this is now where we are, and try strategize according to what the information that I had at the time as to how I'll wanna, now move around and see how it looks like. So yeah, that was quite an interesting time.
Oh wow! So how's living in America changed how you see yourself?
I'll say it's made me more independent, and that comes from, back home we're more of a communist community as opposed to a capitalistic community.
Yeah.
And coming here, this is a capitalistic country. So you realize, literally, it's actually not a saying. When people say time is money, it's
literally money. What is
exactly. So that, and also depending on yourself, being dependent. Not that we were independent, back home, for example, fixing stuff.
Yeah.
Like you don't fix stuff for yourself. Anything. Be it electrical, be it bulbs, be it mechanical.
You have a handyman for that.
There's the comfort of cheap labor.
Yeah.
So if my car breaks down, or for example, I have an electrical short circuit, it'll be easier for me to call an electrician, knowing that I'll pay probably $10-20.
Oh, so is that why yesterday I found you changing your own brakes?
Bro, I don't have $500 for no mechanic. I'll do it for myself. That's why I was changing my brake pads. But yeah.
So how much do you think you're saving from you doing it yourself and like you taking it to the shop?
Here? I'll give you, like, for my car, the last time I took it out for service, I was given a quotation of about $600, both labor and the price for buying my rotors, my front rotors and brake pads. I found that crazy. Because then when I go online and look up the prices of these rotors and the brake pads, both of them don't exceed more than $140 or $150 on the high.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this guy is probably getting about $450
of labor.
And you see, that's the thing. Before coming here, obviously, we were conditioned to the luxury of getting these services. Yeah. I have a mechanic, you have a family mechanic and all that. But then you come here and you realize, you can still pay for that, but will you be able to keep up with that lifestyle?
No.
Of course, you can decide to.
Cars have issues day in, day out. And if you keep on going to the shop every time, you'll be just giving away money on labor.
Exactly. So it had to condition myself. That's something that I had to learn, that you either pay
or learn how to do it.
Yep, the hard way.
Yeah.
And I won't lie, I've never been, of course I'm a boy, I've loved cars and everything, but I've really never, like, if I had the option of paying for convenience, I'll do that. If I have the option of paying for comfort, I'll do that.
Everybody would. Everybody would.
But now, the reality is here. I find you're working yourself, putting in crazy, effort and hours. And you're thinking, it can be an in and out sort of wave. So it's changed my perception on how you have to realize that you're a person of your own. And the internet literally has everything.
It does.
Everything that I've learned, be it manual work or anything, has been based off YouTube. Even the brake pads that you're talking about fixing yesterday, purely YouTube. Did we manage? We did.
Yeah. And it works good.
And it works and the car runs. And you realize that's a good $450 that you save. And I look at it as me paying myself, as much as I've not paid myself. That's me paying myself.
You put in the labor yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it teaches you that we've grown up in some sort of privileged society whereby labor is cheap, or people are not actually labor is cheap. I'm sorry to put it that way. I'll say we've grown up in a place whereby skills and talent are not appreciated, and then it's cheap.
Yep.
Right. And so if I know person A or B can help me do this easily, I might as well go to them.
Yeah.
As much as I know I'm underpaying them, since that's what they have offered, that's what I'll do. It's a really bad way of doing things, and that's something that I had to change when I came here. Because you're in a place whereby you realize people appreciate talent, people appreciate skills. So literally what you can do will put food on your table.
Definitely.
And that changed my perspective. And that's when you realize we really exploit people back home.
A lot.
Really exploit, and it's so unfair.
If I can lowball you and pay you less, I'll do that. But if you ask for a lot of money,
it's more of a
sometimes you're worth what you're asking for.
Yep.
But they won't give you that chance. They won't even pay you the money.
So I'll say those two, the independence had to be the biggest factor. That was quite a shift. That was quite a shift.
It changes you a lot. What are you most proud of about your journey to the United States?
So far, not giving up, because it's so easy to give up. Have
you thought about giving up at any point?
I have. How
many times?
A couple of times. I have.
But so how was your train of thoughts in those moments?
You're thinking, why am I even doing what I'm doing? Right? Because you're working your ass off day in, day out. You're trying to make a living, right? But then the reality in it, you've got bills your way. You've got not only yourself to watch out for, but you also have your people to watch out for. Like in my case, got my family to watch out for. So you realize, okay, as much as I want to give up, it's like in Swahili I say, wega there, amkacho ujinga. It's like, nah, stop with the nonsense, man. You get tired, you go outside, take a breather, come back in, and hit
keep
the road going.
Keep pushing.
Because you see, also this giving up is more of whenever things don't go your way. That's when you usually feel like giving up. At least as for me, because you're questioning why I'm even doing this. And human nature, when you're putting effort and you're not seeing results, you usually get frustrated. So I did think about it a lot of time, but what has held me together is that the people behind me. When I look at my family, when I look at all that, I think to myself, I have a wife to take care of. I have a kid to take care of. They need me. Not even taking care of them. They also need me to be present. So I feel such things make you realize, you're just tired, man. You need some sleep. You need to drink water and get going. Yep.
Oh, wow. Wow. You spoke about kids. You being African and being in the United States, what values or traditions have you tried to instill into your kid or pass it down?
I'm a bit lucky because I don't have like a 20-year-old.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there, but I don't have a 20-year-old yet. However, it's been quite challenging. Obviously, cultural differences. For me, it's a bit different though, and I'll say I'm a bit lucky because I and my wife happen to share or come from the same, country and come from the same community. So we share this similar cultural heritages and all that. So it gets easier molding it into our children or passing it over to our children.
So there's no conflict of thoughts and nothing.
I can't say that. However, minus the nuclear point of it, like us as a family unit, kids go there, they interact with other kids, right? And it's so easy because kids talk very innocently.
Definitely.
Very, very innocently. So kids might go there, talk, and they'll hear something from their peers. And it doesn't match what they'll say and they'll tell. But for me, it's a bit different. And that already is a problem because it triggers like it's like you've opened something that we now need to unlock. So it's been quite easy yet hard. Because again, as much as I'm African, I am not in an African context. For sure.
It's a different cultural ground.
So I'm carrying my African heritage with me. I'm carrying what I learned from my parents, what I learned from my grandparents, and what they learned. And so it's more or less I've been learning the art of striking that balance of meeting traditionalism and modernism in the middle. There's some things I can never forgo,
For sure.
like it or not.
Yeah.
But there's some things I can forgo. Because one, I was not born in the 70s or in the 60s. So obviously there's some modernity to it. You know, I was born in the 90s. So it's a bit different. However, it's just, I feel it's more of the two of you, because remember, parenthood is also a partnership. You know, it's both of you coming together and deciding A, B, and C is what we'll want to go on with, or A, B, and C is what we want to omit or leave aside. Yeah.
So, speaking of traditions, do you think there are challenges that's gonna come in between you instilling the traditions with your kid, having that he's growing up in a different cultural ground?
Yep.
Do you think they can pick it up, or is it something they'll neglect?
I'll say don't know, because I'm not there yet.
You haven't been here. Do you think it's something they'll pick up on, or is it easy to be neglected?
When I draw,
it's not a lot of people practice the same traditions, so it's only going to be him.
Yeah.
And probably if he meets a neighbor of yours who's coming from the same tradition, or
might wanna hold on to them. I'll say, okay, so I'll draw inspiration from some of the family members I have around here, right? Most of them are from intermarried cultures, right? But still, there's some sense of cultural traditions that they've withheld. And you'll realize that's even more hard when you're coming from two different cultures. Because it's like there's a conflict of interest, you know. Probably you as the dad might wanna have your kids uphold your culture, you know. And probably the mom is coming from a more cultural, she's coming from a cultural background that holds more heritage. And I'll give you an example. Not that different people don't have different cultures, but for example, South Americans, they really have some strong culture. You'll notice that. Very strong culture. And you see, that might be a conflict of interest, because you don't know if you don't have these conversations, you don't know how it's gonna be. And these are not things you forgot. These are things you definitely have to
discuss.
But I feel, for me, and I hope it's not gonna be that hard, obviously, as they're growing up, simply because, as I said, we're coming from one area, and two, I feel it comes down to how you also raise them, you know. And I'm drawing inspiration from how we were also brought up. You know, we can't obviously go out here banging our chests and say we were best raised, but I feel we can say we were raised well.
Yeah, we were.
You know, we were raised well. Because when you look at yourselves, there's some points whereby your morals hold you back in lots of things here.
For sure.
You know,
for sure.
And mostly coming into a different culture. So I'll say, for me, I think it'll be more about how we tailor the parenthood on raising him. It will be my wish for my kids to hold on to as much culture as they're doing, as they can, right? And that's simply because these American kids, you know, now they're American. Right? So it's so easy for them to lose it. To lose that
cultural sense.
Yep. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does answer my question, but I know, honestly, there's gonna be challenges, but you'll have to tackle it when you cross that bridge. For sure.
I think
you cannot speak of something that you haven't gone through.
I feel as it comes to me, we'll deal with it.
But I was just trying to pick on your perspective on it, though. So, having been in the United States for the time span that you've been down here, what are some of the misconceptions that you've heard about Africans from the citizens down here?
I'll be mad right now.
Give an example. Let's give 2 or 3 maybe.
Like, how's Africa a country, for example?
Yeah. People think Africa's a country.
Yeah.
Man.
They do.
Well, for those who are watching, Africa is not a country. It's a whole continent.
I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I can understand. I don't know the curriculum that much well. Obviously, let's say it with my kids growing up. But I don't know. Probably it comes from a place of really not knowing. at times, whenever you're talking to people here, you'll realize that they just don't know.
Yeah. They don't.
They just don't know, and that's because either they were not taught. Obviously, there's the aspect of interest that you might as well go to the internet. Just try get
Find
yourself
out.
knowledgeable. Yeah.
Yep.
There's that. Second is what do you all dress? Like what do you all wear back home?
Traditional outfits.
Yeah, because you see people coming from the continent coming here. Obviously, growing up, you've grown up with some reservations, and you'll find during the summer it gets extreme hot. So people are literally naked out here.
That hit me with a huge surprise.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's changed now. It's changed now.
Yeah.
Because the years before 2022 going downwards, we had more reservations. Nowadays,
people are not reserved. Yeah, right now it's different.
It's westernized.
Yeah, right now it's western. But that's the thing. For someone who's initially coming here, and maybe fortunately or unfortunately, prior to getting here, you didn't get that exposure of leaving your home country. You might be taken aback, because for you, your type of outfit in a hot weather will probably
light clothing,
but fully covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you're here and you're seeing something else, and and when they're also seeing you that, you also can't judge them for judging you somewhat, because growing up maybe what they're used to is them seeing themselves that way. So whenever they see someone coming in dressing that, and obviously, say for example, African Americans, and you're also someone of color, they'll wonder, because not unless I'm talking to you, it's hard to tell where I'm from. Till I speak, you hear my accent and all that, then you can pick it up. So people will be thinking, why? Is this how you all dress back home when it's hot? And that's the thing. It's easy. The misconceptions are very easy because then books are judged here by the cover.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Books are judged by the cover.
Yeah.
So I'll say the country, apart from let me see what weird thing I've gotten here.
Do y'all got houses?
Well, no, that I'm not gonna. I'll be pissed. Nah, I'll be very. What do you mean we have?
I've had that before. And
there's actually a lady who once, it wasn't directed to me. It was directed to like a fellow classmate who happens to also be African. And they were talking about, I think it was a conversation about some movie that was out in the cinemas. And they're talking about that, and I don't know whether it was to be sarcastic, but a question was posed: do you all have theaters back home?
I mean, there's honesty to that, though. How many theaters do you have?
We have theaters.
How many do you have back home?
Back home, we have theaters. As far as I know, like from where I am, like where I'm, my city, I can name at least 8.
8.
Yeah.
Man, I only know one.
8.
I only know
like
one.
Even when I look at the central business district town,
that's the only one that I know.
No, the 3.
Mention them. Let me hear.
National Theatre.
That's one that I know.
IMAX.
Oh yeah, IMAX.
Right. And the Nairobi Cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I don't think they come to mind. How many times have you gone down there to watch a movie?
A lot.
I've never.
Yeah. But then you see, okay, a lot might be 3 or 4 times. No, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But however, places like the National Theatre, in my former uni before I left, that was the University of Nairobi. It's literally adjacent to it. We'll go watch plays.
Yeah.
Set books. Back in high school, those guys who did those acting, that's where they did their performances.
Are they in the same setting as the ones in the United States?
Definitely not. Definitely not. But again, that doesn't give any right to question. Because then if you're questioning from a point of knowing whether it's there or not, that question won't be there in the first place.